All right, y'all. I know I promised more of these videos earlier in the playoffs and have been slacking on that. So now that the finals are over, I did want to get back to recording these. This is hopefully going to be a kind of double feature where I'll go through the game I just played against Val, and then afterwards I'll also go through my semifinal game against the Steve. I just figured because I've been slacking on these anyway, people would probably want me to lead off with, what ended up being the final game of the season. So that all being said, also apologies if the mic is bad. I've been messing with OBS settings for a while, and I mean, I think I've got it about as good as I can, unfortunately. So then, without further ado, I want to first look at kind of the teams on both sides, especially mine, where I can give a lot of insight into what I was kind of thinking. And I think also just from talking to Val after the game and playing it out, knowing the matchup pretty well from my prep, I understand most of what he was going for and what he was thinking. So at least I think so. So to start out, let's go through my team. So um, the throughout the season, I've been pretty standard in what I'm bringing. I'm bringing a Specs Chiyu. I'm bringing a couple defensive pivots of Fortress, Crobat before, Florges usually. And then I'm bringing Rhyperior is almost always this Rocks leftovers set. And then I'm bringing another wall breaker, probably an Urshifu or a Rillaboom, a DD Dragonite as a potential setup threat, some texture like that. This game, I wanted to kind of throw a curveball. I had some interesting sets I never ran, and that I kind of they felt pretty good. And especially when you look at Val's team, and I'm actually going to flip over to the prep document that I know a lot of people look at. I kind of realized that okay, there's a real flying weakness where his only resist he drafted is a Lecky. There is also a rock weakness, although my team also doesn't like rocks that much. But I thought that that could be something if I can get rocks up, it's fairly strong. Um, and then I also, he's going to be scared of this water weakness. Although I didn't end up bringing the water or Shifu because I was scared of something like a helmet Wheezing Galar, or he ended up bringing helmet Aloma Mola, honestly, a similar thing, where the problem is clicking Surging Strikes into a helmet Mon, unless you want to run protective pads, you end up just taking so much damage back. And maybe Punching Glove would have been better, but unfortunately, not what I ended up doing. Although I think Urshifu would have been decent here, I think what I had was better. So what I really wanted to center on as a physical wall breaker was this choice banded Crobat, which is not something people really run that often, but this is max attack adamant Crobat. It's I can actually go over to the Poke Paste. It's basically speed crept to exactly outspeed non-scarf Kartana, and that also allows a little bit of a dip into HP. So this is a threat I really wanted to have. For Rhyperior, I also wanted to double down on this flying thing, make it Terra Flying. Terra Flying Rhyperior is fantastic. It really walls Lando Eye, to be honest. Maybe it probably doesn't take two Sludge Waves, but it kills back with Ice Punch, which I had. So it 1v1s Lando Eye. It beats Kartana. It beats Volcarona. It's really, really good into his team. And it's just really good into everything. This Terrifying Rhyperior was one of my favorite mons of the season. Chiyu, I was going to bring it. His team doesn't have great dark switch-ins besides Wheezing, I think is like the only real resist he had. And I was expecting, though, Porygon 2. I mentioned this in the Discord after, but basically I went down this whole prep rabbit hole of how do I best punish a Porygon 2, and I have this nasty plot Lumberry Chiyu. So the first game of the season, it wasn't Specs, just because I feel like with Lum, the natural I was expecting instead of Alomomola, I thought he would bring a P2 Wheezing as kind of his big defensive options. Instead, he opted for both of those plus a Regidrago AV, which makes some sense, but it was a different team than I was expecting. I was expecting Porygon 2, the interaction with Trace and Beads of Ruin, where Porygon 2 is essentially unaffected by Chiyu's ability, makes it a really good check as well. So with Nasty Plot, though, you can kind of muscle through. Lumberry also means that Porygon 2, if it starts clicking like a Thunder Wave, you get an extra turn of damage. If it clicks like Tri Attack, you're not really exposed to as much risk because that move can be kind of RNG heavy. Ditto's a great mon. I've only brought it once this season up to now, I think, but his team had a lot of guys that could set up or could not. You've got Dragon Dance Reggie Drago did really well against Schnarfy the week before. Kartana can be SD. Lando I could be nasty plot. It's not super common. And also, actually, on the point of Kartana as well, Beast Boost would get copied, and this is a Scarf Ditto. So, at worst, if he brings a Scarf Kartana, I can copy the attack boosts, and then it's just a 50-50 for the game on a potential Sacred Sword, really. And then Volcarona as well, although you have to be careful with Ditto into Volcarona because Volcarona can keep quiver dancing, and that gives it Spadef, so Ditto isn't just immediately punishing. So Ditto just felt really good, and it's always speed control, right? So even a Lecky, which I can't really outspeed through any normal means, I can outspeed with a Scarf Ditto because it's going to be the same as a Lecky. And really, for all of his things, I love Ditto. Crobat, like I said, choice band meant to kind of punish, and it actually, I mean, look at this team he brings. Again, it's one for flying resist, and it's Regieleki, which is taking a ton from a banded Brave Bird. So he really doesn't have great options to deal with that off the bat. I kind of know that this Crobat is going to do a lot of damage. Dragonite was Assault Vest, which kind of makes no sense. It was really, really good as a switch into landers. I mean, almost unpunishable. I mean, a rock slide sucks, but Dragonite just has such good natural physical bulk, and I was completely HP and special defense with a little bit of defense invested, so very bulky. Um, Fantastic for Volcarona, which came good for like special Hoopa. Hoopa isn't the one I talked about a ton so far, but was something I was scared of. And AV Dragonite does well if he opts to bring that as a special attacker. Um, and then it also, it has the emergency kind of oh shit button in extreme speed, along with Ice Spinner, because again, I'm just basically making sure Landorus, which on paper is a huge threat to my team, I'm making sure I have multiple really, really solid answers with Ditto, Ice Punch Rhyperior, Ice Spinner, Dragonite. This thing is never going to beat me, and it's going to be up to something else. And if you look at his team, if Lando isn't beating me, it's challenging for Aleki, obviously, is going to struggle to break through Rhyperior. So then it leaves it on these last two guys to really be his win con here. Last one I bring is Fortress. Fortress was pretty standard. Leftovers, spikes, rapid spin, bolt switch was the set. Much more fizz def. Okay, pretty obvious. Again, another, like I said, really good for Kartana, obviously. Also good for physical Regidrago. And a physical Hoopa set or something like that is also pretty walled as much as you can be by Fortress. So okay, so that's kind of what all my things were, what I was planning going into prep. What I knew my team was going to be weak to was Regidrago, because I'm not bringing Florges. So this thing, I knew I was kind of allowing it to be really strong to me. I opted away from Florges because it just didn't feel that great. And if I bring it as my special defense option, when I talk about Lando gets so many free button clicks with just clicking Sludge Wave in front of it. Even if I can 100% predict and go to Fortress, it's just an Earth Power the next turn. And it's just really uncomfortable to try to play with that as my special defense option. This Dragonite is weak to like a dragon energy from this, but I mean, this thing is easy to kill back basically because it's so slow. And then if it's scarfed, it struggles to break Fortress before I can get a pivot, and then I can bring in like a Ditto and 50-50. Or there's just, I don't know, it's scary. To be honest, my answer was basically just I'll have to figure it out based on the set. And but I knew this was a big threat, and I thought P2 would be a big threat. And Weezing Galar also, maybe not a threat in the traditional sense, but it's really hard for my physical attackers. Urshifu, Rillaboom, Dragonite, and Rhyperior all don't actually do great into this mon because none of them get like a psychic move. Crobat was obviously my physical attacker that actually has a chance. And Rhyperior ends up with Terra Flying, Terra Blast being able to hit. So that was I don't even know how long I just went on prep. As you can tell, I put more time into this game than really any other one I've had this season by a lot. I really wanted to make sure I was ready because, finals had to show out. So now, as I'm looking at the matchup, okay, lead, I was pretty much set on, I want to send out Crobat. The only thing that outspeeds is Regieleki. I have 100% switch into Rhyperior. I don't lose anything by getting Rhyperior in like that. It's not super punishable by a double because it lives any hit and can do a lot of damage back. You know, his best double would be Regidrago, but that's kind of hard to do, and it just gets kind of weird to really think through those lines. So I kind of know I want to leave Crobat because anything else I'm just clicking U-turn most likely. Or if it's like a Volcarona, I'll just go right for it with a Brave Bird. But I'd get Crobat in. He brings in Landorus. Landorus dies to Banded Brave Bird after rocks, but it does not die straight up. So I'm not going to click Brave Bird here because I had assumed this was Life Orb, as you typically run on Landorus. And I figured it was probably clicking an attack. So, I mean, obviously, he rocks and I U-turn. I spent a while thinking about this. I was completely not prepared for lead Scarf rocks. And then I was kind of, because my thought was if he brings in Lando, I'm going to U-turn. I'm going to go first. I'm going to go into Dragonite, which is like my really solid Landorus answer that it doesn't really ever get through, or at least not without a lot of work. Instead, he rocks, and again, this is AV Dragonite. It's not Boots, so I can't really bring it in on rocks. And actually, as an aside as well, my team super rock weak. I mean, unbelievably. The only resist is Rhyperior, which is going to Terra Flying and also doesn't have Boots. When this Terras, I have 4 rock weak Mons, and none of them are Boots. I had a lot of confidence in my ability to get the spin off with Fortress, and that was kind of what this was dependent on. So I U-turn. I think about this for a while. I ultimately go into Fortress because, okay, I know that he's Scarf because he outsped. So I'm just going to spin. I'm not losing anything. It's going to get to Sturdy. He goes into Volcarona. Makes sense. I get my spin. Because, again, rocks need to stay down. So now, okay, he's got Volcarona. Obviously, you're not leaving Fortress in on Volcarona. So I'm going to switch. I switch, of course, to Dragonite. Natural Volcancer. Again, this is AV. Volcarona can't touch it with anything it's going to have. You see, this is ridiculous. I mean, I know multi-scale and everything, but 3% means 6% if it's not multi. I mean, just comically low damage. And not to disrespect the Volcarona, but more just to say that, I mean, this is a fat mon. People kind of sleep on. I think this is like base 100 Spid F and like about 100 HP, something like that. I mean, it's just crazy. So live that pretty easily. I make a pretty aggressive play here, and I double into Chiyu. I know that I don't know if he immediately recognized that that was AV. I think the rolls are probably weird with multi-scale and everything. He knows this is bulky, but I think his mind is always going to be, okay, Weezing's 100% switching to Dragonite. I don't lose anything by it. And, you know, and Volcarona is really threatened by like a potential dual wing beat. And you're not just going to sack, like I said, his win cons are pretty clearly Regidrago and Volcarona doing the bulk of the work. So I was pretty confident Weezing was coming in on Dragonite. Feels like a natural switch in. Chiyu is my only mon that punishes Weezing. I mean, Weezing is, like I said, I need to keep Chiyu because Chiyu is my only way to break through this, really. I mean, without like throwing a ton of resources into it. Okay. Chiyu is in. He doesn't double, but he switches back out to Regidrago, which he reveals as his main Chiyu switching. I clicked Fire Blast here. I was pretty sure that this Weezing was Fizz-Def, especially because it comes in on Dragonite. I was pretty sure that it was going to be one of either some kind of Spidef Alamola or Drago that comes in. But the reason that I clicked Fire Blast is, like I said, I need Chiyu. It's just too good of a Pokemon. And Weezing can potentially, like, if I try to click a Dark Pulse, Weezing can live. If I don't click Fire Blast, Weezing can live. And I don't need Volcarona Chiyu taking that hit. Instead, I figured, okay, we're just going to play kind of slow. We're going to play smart. We're going to see, like, get more information on his team with this. So Fire Blast does ridiculously low damage. And I should have realized this was AV. I honestly didn't in the moment. Because I'm not used to non-specs Chiyu damage, again, this being Nasty Plot, and I just assumed that, I mean, this is fat. I just assumed it was HP invested and living that easily. Now, I probably could have led with this as I was going through the turn. The thing is, this burns here, and Val and I discussed this a little bit after the game. This is definitely super lucky for me. I have looked at this matchup a lot since, before and since. I think, based on both of like kind of what we're bringing, I do think this favors me in general. Just I think that an A now knowing after the fact this is an AV Reggie Drago. I think that's going to struggle to win against this team because it's always slower than Chiyu. It's taking a lot of damage from Dark Pulse, and it's if it ever tears, it's O-code by a fire move or O-code from the range. I obviously get it down to here. So I think this thing would have been able to probably force a kill or two, but I don't think this is, it's really complicated. You can't really imagine how the whole game is going to play out without something like this happening. But I do feel like I had a little bit of a stronger matchup just with what the two of us actually brought. Um, but of course, it's also really easy to say that when you get the really lucky Fire Blast, 10% burn, and now this Reggie Drago is challenged. Now, I will say it is worth keeping in mind. I don't know that this is a physical attacker. I think in my head, there's always the chance that it's a Specs or Scarf special. I mean, those are definitely viable sets. I know it's kind of bulky, but I don't necessarily know that it's not special attack. I go to Fortress. Um, this is probably Terra Steel, I'm almost certain. So it walls everything that is like Dragon or Steel or the stabs. Um, and he goes back to Volcarona. And here I make kind of a crazy play. I go Chi. I was thinking that one, I don't want to lose the momentum of him doubling, getting in wheezing on Dragonite. And two, like I probably should have looked more at the calc, but she was actually quite bulky on the special side. I know that Volcarona is not killing it. I just want to keep clicking buttons. To be honest, this Chiyu was my biggest prep miss because Specs Chiyu would have been incredible in this matchup with how it plays out. And obviously here, we get a Psychic, and actually, I'm just going to go look at it quickly because I'm curious. Like a Volcarona, I mean, this is probably doing what, like 25 with Flamethrower, which I know he has. I'm sure it's QD. He's already revealed Fire Dance. So usually the last is going to be Bug Buzz, Giga Drain. Bug Buzz could have done, 60-ish probably to Chiyu. No, like closer to 50 maybe. But then I still am getting to click a button. And I think clicking Bug Buzz there in front of Fortress and when I last brought in Dragonite would be just unbelievable. And it's probably Giga Drain anyway to beat Rhyperior. So all that being said, I felt like this was the right play. It was risky, but I can afford the chip on Chiyu. I don't like it because I can't do this again, but I can afford the aggressive play here. Now I get a free click, and I know that Reggie Drago is what he wants to bring. I know that more importantly, this Wheezing, which is his only Dark Resist, is not his Chiyu answer. And I know that even if he decides to go to Wheezing on something crazy, I'm not actually choice locked into Dark Pulse, even though he's probably assuming I'm Scarf. So I can just go Fire Move. Dark Pulse does 33. Burn probably makes this a roll, but I mean, this is Chiyu. I need it. I'm just going to go to Fortress again. And here he outrages. I think the outrage click is definitely, I don't want to predict too much what Val was thinking. I think he is feeling like he needs to make a play and he kind of needs, honestly, a misplay on my side or an overly aggressive play on my side to come back because I've gotten this burn. I've gotten a lot of damage off on his team and he's really not forced a whole lot of progress yet. So I think he's outraging, trying to catch like a crazy double or catch Chiyu staying in and just get his chip there. Like maybe thinking that I'm just going to risk the Dark Pulse roll and get what damage he can. But instead, Fortress, the best case scenario for me because now he's obviously locked into outrage, can't do anything. I'm taking 12%. So free turn to just get a spike here. There wasn't another click. I mean, I could have volt switched, but that's not accomplishing anything. I guess it could have gotten Chiyu back in to get a kill with Dark Pulse into Fire Move, but no point. So yeah, get the spike. He's continuing to burn. Here, of course, that's confused. I'm just going to click Volt Switch. If he brings in Lando, I'm always bringing in Dragonite. I'm not really that scared of a free switch into Lando. And anything else that comes in, Volt Switch works on. And again, keeps momentum. Rhyperior, he's going to be scared out. I'm going to Rocks, pretty normal turns. Here, I make a pretty aggressive play, going back to Chiyu. This time, I'm finally punished for doing something like this. I mean, I was thinking he was going to defog, to be honest, and I don't know what this Wheezing set was. It reveals Black Sludge later, but I think the only move this clicks all game is Strange Steam. I'm assuming it's like Wisp. I would have thought Steam, Wisp, Pain Split, defog, but maybe he was very confident in Aleki as a spinner and didn't bring defog. Um, so sorry, and then obviously I know this is levitate. There's no way he brings non-levitate because otherwise it just loses to Rhyperior. I didn't like it hadn't revealed. I guess it actually does reveal by not taking spike, although it could have been boots, but I just know. Um, so anyway, Steam Chip goes through. It's 31. It's not, the end of the world, and I do get my free button click with Chiyu. Now, I know he's gonna go Drago, and at this point, I just feel like this is the time. I just click, and also because I know that I live another strange Steam, and then I get a kill um after Nasty Plot, even if it confuses. I'm Lumberry for Porygon 2, but that's not here, so I might as well be Lumberry for the strange Steam confusion. So I'm just gonna plot up. I mean, it's either Sack Drago or he clicks Strange Steam again, but that can't kill. And then even if it confuses, I have a Lumberry and I'm doing something back. Um, okay, he goes to the Scarf Landorus. Like I said, 100% switch into Dragonite, U-turn for some momentum. This is some interesting. So it's Rock's U-turn. What? Probably Earth Power, Sludge Wave. It reveals Sludge Wave later. It's the 4. Um, right. So it basically it does get through Forges, but that makes it super weak to Crobat. That's why he didn't Psychic. Okay, he U-turns into Wheezing. That is fine with me. Here I E-speed. Thing is, I just wanted information. I needed to make sure that this wasn't Spadef and I wasn't like kind of getting tricked into being worried about it for Chiyu and like thinking I need Chiyu and I can actually get through physically. This is pretty FizzDef. But I just wanted to like poke at it and nothing else I can click with this really makes sense. I was expecting a defog here. Instead, he Strange Steams. I think trying to punish a potential Chiyu switch, again, does outrageously low damage for being a super effective move here. I'm just going to go Fortress because if nothing, this is clicking really bothers me. And HP on Fortress isn't that important because he doesn't have a physical attacker anymore, and this honestly loses to the rest of his team. So he Strange Steams somehow is faster than the Fortress, which was kind of annoying. I go Crobat because I figure it's probably Strange Steam, and that's not going to do a lot. This is one of my resists. And then here I just click this Brave Bird, ridiculous damage. This is actually I was impressed by how well Brave Bird Crobat performed. And so with that damage done, I don't know. Val should have known this was banned based on the damage to Landorus. I wonder if he either didn't look at that or didn't think it made like felt like he needed to do this. But I feel like looking back, he probably recognizes his play here should have been a hard switch to Alomomola. Just its helmet, it'll do a ton back to me with between recoil and that. I probably come close to dying just on that mon, and then he would be able to get like a Lecky in or something after. But he lets me get that chip on Wheezing, which ends up being huge. Also, finally now goes into Alomomola, which I'm just going to keep clicking Brave Bird. It's a 2-hit KO because of hazards. This is why hazards are very powerful. And I'm able to get my Crobat kill. So Crobat performs about as well as I was hoping, especially because it's slower than Landorus. Again, part of the idea was it's going to be faster than Lando, like Life Orb Lando, and kill after rocks from 88%. But that ended up not being necessary, and I'm very happy with the work that this did to like punch through these physical walls. So Alomomola goes down, Weezing's chipped. I'm gonna go Chiyu. I mean, I'm not scared of anything. I have 100% switch into Lando and Aleki, and Volcarona can't kill me, and I can get a ton of chip on it if it's coming in. And really, with all the chip I now have on Weezing, Weezing doesn't matter as much anymore. So I get this. I'm gonna go to Rhyperior. It's a Aleki. I'm always gonna go Rhyperior. P-Bolt, I think again, he's just trying to punish potential over aggressive plays reaching from me. I think again, at this point, I'm in a pretty strong position in this game. Switch to Wheezing. I'm just Terra Blasting. I mean, I figured it was free. Aleki like can't really touch Rhyperior. maybe he clicks explosion here, but if he explodes with a Lecky, then it's like over. Um, and so I just am willing to, okay, I'm just going to click Terra Blast. It's also, I'm pretty sure, a 2-hit KO on a Lecky. And obviously, Lando and Volcarona can't come in on that either. So with that kill, he's going to send out Volcarona. Makes sense. It's his other option is to start clicking Sludge Wave with Lando, but he knows I'm going to go Dragonite, and he doesn't have anything that really punishes that left. So he's going to go to this. He's going to Fiery Dance. Makes sense. Gets his boost. But again, this mon is, I mean, I cannot emphasize enough. And as I go through the Steve game after this, it'll continue to be obvious. Terra Rhyperior throughout this whole season, and I mean, spoiler, I end up winning this championship and winning this game, was certainly probably my second strongest, most consistent best mon after Chi. Chi was the only thing I felt like I drafted that outperformed Rhyperior. Rhyperior has been, oh my God, it was such a godsend on this team. And it was actually my second time winning a championship with Rhyperior because this was on my team last time. The only thing that was on both of those teams, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, again, Terra Blast is doing too much. This Rhyperior, I'm actually going to show this really quickly. I don't know what these EVs are. I just like make EVs, but I mean, I kind of like to think here this 48 SPDF actually mattered because it's kind of close. It probably didn't. It probably still lives at like 1 or 2. But it living this second hit is pretty substantial because I get to keep this, which means a Lecky can't win. Like no matter what. And it can't win already because I've got Ditto and it's never really going to be able to, and like Dragonite's AV and it's never getting through all this. But it is nice to just 100% guarantee that. I'm gonna go Fortress here. Um, I'm expecting he's probably taking the Sludge Wave. I also just need to keep Rhyperior, and Fortress isn't very useful. I mean, also just to be completely honest, this game is pretty much uh, over at this point. It's just this is scarfed, so whatever it locks itself into, it can't win. It can't beat Dragonite. Aleki is obviously completely incapable of winning as long as Rhyperior is up, and probably as long as Dragonite and Ditto are up too, it can't win. Because I can just sack and get into it. So here he's going to go to that Aleki. I'm going to body press, do my chip. He rapid spins. I think he kind of knows it's a lost position, figures I'm going to Rhyperior. I'm just going to body press. If he kills me, free switch to Rhyperior to keep clicking buttons. Again, there's not really anything he can do. He scarf locks himself into Earth Power, so I'm just going to click to my immunity in Dragonite and just get the kill with Ice Spinner. So, I mean, I've been talking probably for half an hour. I mean, as everyone can tell, I had a ton of thoughts on this game. Great game with against Val. A little bit unfortunate the burn on Drago. I know he definitely said felt pretty crippling for his team. I would have loved to see how this goes either way, but I do think I prepared very well, and I was very happy with how my team shaped up. And so, I definitely don't feel like I just lucked my way to winning or anything. It sucks when that stuff happens, but overall, I'm super happy with how I played all season, and especially with this game. So, yeah, I mean, that's a breakdown of the championship game. Again, credit to Val. Obviously, great player. Went undefeated through the season up to this point, but we had to keep gatekeeping him from joining the Champions Club. That I cannot believe he has not won one of these yet. So, yeah, really good matchup, and looking forward to seeing what next season has. So I'm probably gonna just pause this for 1 second, and then we're gonna hop over to the semifinal game against the Steve, and just give some thoughts there. But again, super happy that I ended up getting to win season 5 of this league. Felt really good. So yeah. Okay, I think I paused that correctly. I'll look at it, but if not, everyone just saw me open Discord and pull this link up. To look at this, right, and obviously I'm recording this after the championship game. Unfortunately, I've just had a busy week and kind of wish I had gotten around to this, but didn't until now. So I'm looking at this again for the first time in a little bit, but I kind of remember now this matchup and what I was thinking. So this game, again, these last 2 games were really by a lot the hardest I prepared all season. Up to this point, I was bringing pretty much the same team every week, to be honest, or very similar win cons, very similar ideas. And then these 2 matchups, the Steve, obviously someone I think I've played, I don't even know, 4 seasons in a row in the playoffs or something. I mean, great coach. He's obviously won one of those as well, and um, so I was definitely going to take that matchup seriously. I do think, and this was kind of talked about, I think in general my team matches up well. Is he drafted a team very similar to what I typically do with really bulky kind of slow core, like mons that are slow but great at everything else, like good wall breakers, good walls, and some really, really good threats in Sneasler and Mega Blastoise, both which you see here. So what was my thought process into this? The prep, I won't go for as long as I did in the championship game in terms of breaking down my prep here. I basically figured that he was going to really be scared of Rillaboom. Rillaboom completely counters Mega Blastoise because obviously Grassy Glide after the Shell Smash is just killing no matter what you're kind of setting up as. Um, so that was something I was really banking on, him being scared of. And because of that, I was scared of, I can't remember now all of his options. Rotom Heat was the one that I was really expecting to see here. That he brought this Bruxish instead. Basically, everything else was kind of what I was expecting. And Bruxish was surprising to me because I kind of thought he would be scared of Rillaboom and bring like a Bulu or a Rotom Heat as an additional check to it when really here his only big thing for it is Skarm that is obviously really, really scared of Chiyu, which is, I mean, all season one of my best offensive options. But he definitely has his reasons, and you kind of have to respect the whole options. And it actually, because then I was thinking those, and so I have this SD Poison Jab. It says it's the darker Shifu, but this is the water one. So Poison Jab hits Bulu, Surging Strikes, hits Rotom Heat, and I'm relying on everything else to be Blastoise. This Florges is Spadef as hell and has Energy Ball to check Blastoise. Urshifu can click Aqua Jet. This Dragonite is banded and has extreme speed, which does a good amount of damage to a Shell Smashed Blastoise. So, that's basically my prep. To look at kind of my answers, also last thing. Low kicks, Fortress and Rhyperior are both BizDef, pretty much what they normally are. Fortress is very similar to the game we just went through against Val, except this one's Thunder Wave. But other than that, a pretty similar, Spinner, Volt Switch, Thunder Wave kind of set. I think last was Spikes, I'm pretty sure. And then Rhyperior, yeah, it's like, what was this? This is Terra. That's actually one other thing. The prep that's kind of interesting. This Rhyperior is Terra Water, which I think all season I had pretty much only brought Terra Flying. Because no one drafts flying resists and it's free, and if they do, they're all weak to ground anyway because they're a steel type or a rock type. But sorry, yeah, no, but this Rhyperior is Terra Water because again, I was scared of Rotom Heat. Rotom Heat is good into the kind of team I run that's a bunch of physical attackers in a Chiyu, which I mean it's gonna be scared of Chiyu, but everything's scared of Chiyu. And it's good, it gets its wisps for free. And so I really wanted to make sure I was really, really solid in my matchup into it. And that's what Rhyperior was for, was Terra Water, Lightning Rod, completely unaffected by Rotom Heat. And then also, actually, really, that was honestly the main benefit of Terra Water. I'd love to say it ends up mattering against Bruxish, but that was completely unplanned. Now, in terms of lead matchup, I have this banded Dragonite. It's obviously multi-scale. He cannot get through this in any attack. It's banded. It's like E-Speed, Outrage, Fire Punch. I can't remember the last at this point. I think it's Dual Wing Beat probably. And I figure, okay, if he leads something, if he's going into Skarm, I can Fire Punch, and I think it was close to 2-hit KO. Anything else, I can click Outrage. He's no Bulu, so Outrage is really free. So yeah, fourth time we've played in the playoffs. Had some really good matches with Steve. Great player. So he goes into Blastoise, I go into this. My eyes wide as saucers because if this shell smashes, it dies to Outrage. If this does not shell smash, when I was looking at the calc, it should die to Outrage. The thing that, well, let's just play the first turn. What happens here is he megas, I Outrage. This is so fat. This should, if this thing isn't bulk invested at all, this is like probably around 90% minimum, 92% minimum. 77 is, he's really speedy. And I mean, credit to his prep there, but it was just, and I think it makes sense looking back on it that because of the threat of Rillaboom, he's gonna use this Blastoise more as like a bulky kind of wall breaker hole puncher through my team rather than something that's, a threat like that. He's gonna Ice Beam. I mean, of course, right? Hits Dragonite for a ton. Multi-scale though, I live. Outrage is gonna get the kill. I mean, a little unlucky for me, not a big deal, but if this Dragonite confuses on that Outrage turn instead of staying and having to click again, I can save it, which would have been amazing for me because it actually still puts in a ton of work and is very helpful. He's low kicks. I know he's going to first impression to kill this, but I can't do anything. It's Outrage locked. Terror Bug, first impression. This Terror Bug was weird to me because if it's banded, I think it kills anyway, and there'd be no reason to reveal why, like your Terra type. Like you can just pretend that it's Terra Dark. Um, I'm gonna go Chi-Yu. I know I'm faster, and I know that this thing can't first impression twice, doesn't have any other kind of priority, so this is a free button click with Chi-Yu. He goes into Ting Lu. I'm just gonna flamethrower. 40. This is so. I mean, it's just insane how much damage this. Like this is what I'm talking about when I say that the specs is just broken. I mean, 40% to a Ting Lu with a just neutral move is outrageous, especially flamethrower, not even overheat or fire blast or something like that. If I was good, I would stay in here, but I need Chi, so I just go Fortress, which is 100% switch in. He gets his rocks. Okay, not the end of the world because I'm sure I just spin here. Must be what I click. Yeah. He goes into this Bruxish. I don't know what the hell this is. So I mean, I know it's kind of like some kind of wall breaking. I didn't prep for this at all. And it looks like I did because I've got this Terra Water Rhyperior that is a perfect answer. But I wasn't prepared for this at all. And I mean, he SDs on this turn, probably the right play, especially if you don't have, the ability to see the future and know that this is Terra Water Rhyperior. I'm just gonna Volt Switch, does 36, decent chip, but more importantly gets in what I know is gonna be the answer. Um, yeah, if this wasn't Terra Water, I mean, this thing actually would have been able to do a lot. Yeah, but I mean, I guess I would have probably gone into something like Urshifu and Poison Jab. I would have to look at calcs more closely, or maybe, well, my Chi is modest, so I think this is faster. That's the other problem. If I was smart and I just brought and not greedy and I just brought like a timid Chi, then I can just Dark Pulse or Fire Move or anything for free here, and it's great. But I didn't do that. Wave Crash does 34, so yeah, I wouldn't have Oko if I was Terra flying like I usually am. It wouldn't have killed, but that's really good. This. So this Rhyperior is like plus defense nature, and is um it's attack. It's like attack defense. It's like max HP with a lot of defense and a plus defense nature, and then some attack investment, maybe a little special defense, but not much. So really fat physically. Scarm comes in. So like I said, this Rhyperior, I'm gonna set now. This is great. This was prepped to beat Ronan Heat. This wasn't really meant to beat Scarm, but I don't want to go hard Chi and get caught by a body press or something. Instead I Smackdown. And all of a sudden, this is terrible for him. And I mean, also, that's one more note about Chi, by the way, is that at this point, if it ever gets in, Fire Move is a kill. Oko's low kicks. I guess now that this is chipped, obviously with Sturdy, it wouldn't Oko, but it would do 100% just Sturdy live. And Tinglu took 40 the first time. It's at 73. So, I mean, unless that's like some kind of high roll, this should get 2-hit KO'd even after the leftovers. And then Sneasler, I guess technically could switch in once. I don't think it'll be Oko, but it takes a ton. He's gonna roost because he smacks down. I know I can just go for the ground move. High horsepower does a ton, more than 50. He switches to Tinglu here. I think his. I've tried to go, but I don't really know what I because I feel that he should realize he needs Tinglu to continue to wall Chi because this is like his best bet into that. And Scarm isn't. I guess he's really scared of Urshifu, but I've gone back and forth on this. I don't know if he's predicting me to double on another roost and thinking that I'm too scared of the helmet chip, but I'm doing more than 50. I'm keeping this low, and I can afford to take a couple more roosts. Um, so I've settled. I think this is trying to catch a Chi switch on another roost. where he won't be at 100 and it forces a kill. I think that's probably what he's thinking here. But I was happy to kind of keep taking my profit on clicking high horsepower and chipping Scarm, at least for another couple turns. So this, like I said, clicking high horsepower does 27, decent chunk. Obviously, this thing is fat as ridiculous. He's gonna ruinate. Good quick. Not really anything to say here. Terra Blast, water. I mean, this right here. I cannot overstate how good this Pokemon is. I can't do it. It's just so fantastic to have this. Because also, no, I don't even need to get into this anymore. It's just ridiculous that it can do this. And so does that. Now I realize, okay, I start planning for the future. I don't want low kicks doing its thing. So put it on a timer. Rocks. Obviously, it's not going to be boots. Although if I didn't think it was choiced, I guess it's possible. But um, well, I got it. And maybe he, yeah, I don't think I was 100% sold on him not being choiced yet, but I didn't think he was. It just, I feel like I had this suspicion. He rocks here, I Terra Blast, I kill. Okay. So now, again, my leftovers turn, Lokix comes in. Again, this Rhyperior was, I mean, it's just crazy. Living this hit is so insane. And then doing 68 packs. So good. It's so good. I love this Pokemon. He knocks off the leftovers there. Rhyperior has very, very much done and more than done its job with 2 kills, most of Low Kicks' health between rocks and the SmackDown, and then also chipping Storm down to 43 right now. It's done so much. I'm gonna go Fortress. I think it's pretty obviously my switch in here. I'm just gonna rapid spin. I just want to get these hazards out of the way and make sure nothing crazy happens. Looking back on it, I probably shouldn't have done this. Like hazards, like I should have just gone. I don't know. The lines get pretty complicated knowing what I know now about the Sneasler set. So I guess now is a good time to say my team is pretty Sneasler weak, especially because I sacked Dragonite early. And oh, I remember. No, the Urshifu doesn't have Aqua Jet. It's Poison Jab, CC, Surge, SD. So I have no priority. I'm relying on Fortress to beat it. And like the combined power of friendship of my guys. I mean, Urshifu can live anything but an acro after an SD. It lives on boosted acrobatics. So I think that's kind of where my head was at. But sacking some health on this now, this is a threat. And PSD's I Thunder Wave. Now this is less of a threat. But okay, let's go through kind of the potential end games here. And I'm going to get more into this as it plays out, but okay, it's important to note in prep, I didn't know exactly what the Sneasler was going to be. I wasn't sure if he'd bring Grassy Seed. I thought there was a pretty good chance, because there's I think he's probably thinking I'm likely to bring Rillaboom to check Blastoise. He has Tapu Bulu as another option to proc it always. But he didn't bring Bulu. I bring Rillaboom. So, okay, he's not that, but he's SDing. I couldn't figure out what item this was. I couldn't do it. It's not Boots, so it's probably not like the Poison Touch kind of pivot set. He also would have brought it out sooner if that most likely just a pivot at some point if that was what it was. So I think it's some kind of unburdened, but I couldn't think of, I mean, what item is it going to be? And and looking back, I think my theory probably should have been White Herb CC, but it wasn't. So I Volt Switch. I'm gonna go Forges on what I expect to CC. He full pairs. The thing is, I forgot I would be faster with Forges. So I'm trying to get the slow Volt Switch, get Chiyu in, and win the game. I'm faster, and so now it's awkward because now I basically go to Forges. It's kind of a sack, even if he kills it. I'm not really. I didn't want to go into this. I wanted to get Chiyu in. Then I Baton Pass back to Fortress, and he Dire Claws. Now here, I'm gonna be honest. This is a misplay by me. What I'm thinking is this Florges is only Energy Ball, and I'm like, okay, this isn't gonna do anything to Caesar. I should just let Florges die. I should just let Florges die, get the free switch to Chiyu, and that should probably be the game. But instead, I Baton Pass, I bring in Fortress, he's gonna Dire Claw. That just do it. Because if he CCs there on like some expecting me to throw the game, like I did, kind of thinking, it gets unnecessarily difficult. He goes Skarm. Um, I Volt Switch again. I'm just happy to keep poking Sneasler down. And at some point, he kills one of Forges and Fortress, and I just get in my threat. And I think I win because I'm like, okay, this can't proc on Burden. And short of doing that, it has no shot. I'm going to go Chiyu. I'm going to Flamethrower. And here, you're actually going to see the Steve says GG. Okay, it's over. Here's the thing. This is normal gem fake out. If this doesn't full para, gets the fake out on Chiyu, procs the Unburden, it is faster than my whole team. It can then CC Chiyu. It can Dire Claw. It will need luck on. It will need to Dire Claw or Shifu pull para or sleep. If it's para, it needs a full para, but then it can kill after, assuming this is acrobatics. If you need to be SD, Dire Claw, Acro. But it's fake out, so maybe it doesn't even have that move, in which case it would need a lot more luck to get through the Urshifu. It would be technically possible with Dire Claw. And then after that, I mean, CC or Acro or whatever the fourth is after fake out Dire Claw SD, it can get through Fortress and Dire Claw can kill Forges. So this is all to say, even though this game was a 4-0, there's it would have taken a pretty excessive amount of luck, I would say, but there was actually a path to victory on this turn. Now, what ends up happening, he full pairs on the fake out. I kill a flamethrower and the game ends. But if he doesn't full para, he gets his flinch, he's faster, he can CC, and I guess actually if it's fake out, if it's not CC, then he has to get Dire Claw luck. I think it's probably CC. I think it's probably that's how he's gonna win. But no, it's just interesting that I kind of realized this after, oh shit, this was closer than it seems. Like I actually could have just lost. And it comes down to I probably shouldn't have sacked the Dragon Knight because this was my only priority and my only way to outspeed it. But my eyes just got so wide at knocking out this Blastoise and um, just getting what was his main threat that if you watch how he's played this season has won so many games for him. That's what was really making it. It's just such a scary mod. I mean, I don't think it really needs much introduction. To say that Shell Smash Mega Blastoise is huge. Okay, so that is, I think, everything and more that I could possibly say to break down these games. GG's the Steve and Val, of course, in the finals. And everyone, really, I mean, really, really fun season. I had a fantastic time. I really enjoy, especially once we get into playoffs, the intensity certainly ramps up, especially on my end. I put more time into these last two games than, each one individually than every other game I played all season combined. I mean, it was just kind of a lot of thinking, of workshopping what's going to feel good, what isn't. And, it was really nice to see that all come together and work out as nicely as it did. So, with that, I just want to thank anyone who has the stamina to have made it this far. And I'm looking forward to the next season we play.